listening to this awesome music. Good morning, MoB family. All right. Let's get this show started. Welcome to MoB TV, Kaffeeklatsch, episode 99. Wow, you're almost at 100. This is so awesome. Let me let's get into the comments real quick. Hello, everyone. Let's see. Streamer is gonna act a little better today. Yeah, it's awake. Let's get this show started. We gotta lower. Welcome to MoB TV, Kaffeeklatsch episode. Can't have the volume of that happening. All right, awesome. We are live. Okay, good morning, everyone. Let's see. Good morning, Chris Mendoza. Good morning, Heather. Good morning, Facebook user. Good morning, Mark Rollison. Paige, good morning. Connie, good morning. Jim, good morning. Let's see. Good morning, Julian. There's another Facebook user. Good morning. Anthony, good morning. Okay, when the siren calls, the server Bill calls you, you gotta go. Jeanette wants to know if the question is, should I grab coffee? It's only 1:30. I don't know. If you're gonna go back to bed, don't grab coffee. Let's see. Who else? I think everybody said good morning to everyone. Hello. Anthony wants to know, does Death Wish Coffee have, what is it? Long distance drone deliveries? Not that I know of. But yeah, let's see. I'm gonna click on this and see if StreamYard. Hopefully, when I change the modem, with the new blazing speed that we're gonna have, this won't be an issue. Because I'm trying to get it to show, and it's like I want to show, I don't want to show, I kind of want to show it. So this link that I'm trying to click, which is gonna be fun, is to allow you to get your name shown on StreamYard. But it doesn't want to come up right now. I don't know why. Oh, it's up. It's just not up here. It's weird. There it goes. Oh, okay. So StreamYard needs coffee again this morning. Well, I'm supposed to change. I have them there next to Peaches. A new modem and a new router. Supposedly we're going to get even faster internet speed. We'll see if that's going to happen. We'll see if that's really the case. Feeling a little scruffy. My face feels scruffy today for some reason. Does it look scruffy? Do I look scruffy? No? Yeah. So how's everyone today? What can we discuss today? We got so much to discuss. There's so much going on. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff I want to share with you today. So let me do the shout outs real quick because we've got 13 people already here. So shout outs to everyone on YouTube. Hello, YouTube fam, everyone in YouTube. Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Kaffeeklatsch. This is episode 99. If you want to find us on YouTube, we're at Bitten Peaches Publishing or at Storyteller, but either one of those will find us there. On Instagram, I haven't posted anything on Instagram for a while because I've kind of been in the writing cave, but I've got a few excerpts that I've been kind of searching and picking. So I'll be putting those up on Instagram. Also, my last Instagram personal account got hacked, so I'm trying to rebuild that as well. So it's been a little bit of, testing with Instagram. But on Instagram, we're at Bitten Peaches, and I'll be posting some stuff probably today and over the weekend. Try to make it a more regular thing. Zazzle, we've got some Zazzle swag, so go to Zazzle. We're at M&S, so EMANDES. Go to Zazzle.com. You'll find us, and you get your M&S swag there. So swag. This is not swag from Zazzle. This I had made somewhere else because it's embroidered, but I think we could probably have this made at Zazzle. I think this shirt. So this is the Bitten Peaches logo, and it's embroidered. So it's really nice. It's high end, and it's a good T-shirt. So I don't know if we can get that done at Zazzle. I'm pretty sure we can because they do embroidery. This is embroidered also. So Zazzle, gotta try and put on the link. Here we go. Wish me luck. Anyway, awesome. You see it up? Oh, cool. And so it's not here on my chat, but it's up on Facebook. And for those of you that don't have Facebook, that are just here, I'll see if I can click on this and get it up there on the actual StreamYard. Hopefully, this situation will be resolved. The slowness, because it seems laggy, but I think it's because we're on a, we're gonna fix our internet, make it a little faster, blazing fast. What is we're going to internet 500 now? Internet 500 is what we're gonna go to. There's the Zazzle store link, so we'll see if that makes any difference. A few days ago, yeah. No, it's not only StreamYard. It's not, hasn't been anything else. Okay. So yes, next episode is episode 100. So next episode, as I go through the shout outs and everything. So the next episode 100, we're gonna make it a little longer. We'll make it 2 hours long. I think that's not too bad. I mean, sometimes we go that long anyway, but 2 hours long, and we'll kind of go through. I'll walk through the history of the MoB and the MoB Kaffeeklatsch, because 100 episodes is a lot of episodes. It's quite a milestone. Jeez, forgetting words today. It's a milestone to be able to do 100 episodes, and you guys have made that possible. Hold on, let me just click on this one so you can find us on Instagram. So we'll do a kind of like a retrospect on the MoB and how it started, because when the MoB started, we only had 56 people, and now we're like at 1,600 or almost 1,500, almost 1,600. And it's just gonna be about the MoB, everything about the MoB, you know, things that happened in the MoB, how the MoB has grown, how it's evolved and stuff like that. You guys can definitely come in and share your experiences of the MoB. So it'll be all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and Zazzle has great merch. So if you haven't visited the store, and the link is still up, even though I clicked on the Instagram link, if you haven't visited Zazzle, you should visit, because I get all the swag from M&S. I get it from Zazzle. They have great stuff. So yeah. Morning, Laura. Welcome. Let's see. I had to trim my beard. It got too hot. Yeah, it gets hot. Maybe that's why it gets so hot, because this beard can definitely feel. I feel like it increases the temperature. Okay, so let's see this one. I always get like sweat in the morning when these lights are really hot. There goes our Instagram page. Where we are on Instagram. And so that's what's happening. So let's see. For Patreon, we have a new patron, Mark Morgan. Thank you so much for following us and supporting all of us and what we do. It's fantastic. There's a new. I'll just get into it really quick. There's a new Patreon story coming at the end of August. So if you were in the MoB and you were watching us talk about classic muscle cars, excuse me, the name of the new story. Well, let's get into that later. But there's a new Patreon story coming out. We'll discuss a little later in the show. Let's see what else we got. The newsletter. Dolly's going to be handling that. So there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up. She's working on infrastructure stuff. So the newsletter is in production, and we're doing a course with John, and it's a thing. So we kind of have to get up to speed with that. Okay, so. But the newsletter will be happening, and then it's going to be regular. When we had to switch from MailChimp to MailerLite, which are newsletter providers. One, because the functionality seems to be better with MailerLite. So we'll see how it goes, how it works out, how we get integrated to our website and everything else that we're trying to do. We're trying to expand our reach and get more readers, and the stuff that most authors do on the business side, the not so glamorous, amazing stuff that people expect. That the work part of being an author is actually the part that happens behind the scenes and makes the writing possible to get to everyone. So it's really the important part. But it's the part that most beginning writers don't understand, that you're going to have to work at the marketing and the email and generating a list and finding readers and all that unglamorous stuff. But without that, you can't have the glamour of the actual writing, which is not all that glamorous, to be honest. Okay, I see another link. Oh, yeah. So we're also on BookBub. So follow us on BookBub. And again, for BookBub, all you have to do is just get on BookBub, bookbub.com, find us there. And just if you've read the books, just leave your review, whatever it was. It doesn't have to be a long page. It can just be a sentence. And we're also on Binge Books. This is our site on Binge Books. Same thing, go there. Even more so because on Binge Books, it's because it's a new site, a new service. It still needs a lot of social proof. So if you've read the books, go to Binge Books, follow me there, follow the books there, and then just leave a review of what you've read, and it helps create more social proof. That's all. And for those of you that want to, so what are we up to? 9 stories on Patreon? 10. Wow. Is test drive going to be 10, or there's 10 on the site now? Awesome. All right, so there are 10 stories on Patreon. They're all really fun stories, and I have a lot of fun writing them. They're not all M&S. They're all kind of just come out of my head, and I write a story. The next story is Test Drive, which is it's a Bug story. So you guys all know who. I hope you all know who Bug is right now, by now. And she has to go from point A to point B, but Cecil is involved, and he gets her to drive a car that he needs to test to see if he can destroy the beast. So it's all in service of destroying Gray's car, the beast, because that's kind of Cecil's unending project, how to destroy the beast, the car that he created that's pretty much indestructible. So now he's gone across planes. He's gone to another plane, basically, because Cecil can do that. He's Sinatran, of course. And he's going to give Bug a car to go from one place to another place, and she's going to test it to see if it can be destroyed. So it's going to be a fun story. So that's the next story for Patreon, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Good morning, Lisa. Welcome. So Jeanette says she has 2 blankets, 4 coffee cups, 6 T-shirts, plus I love stickers and the Zazzle. Yeah, listen, if I could get, so when I initially started the Zazzle store, my lead designer was not the lead designer. But once she got involved, lead designer's over there, Dolly. Once she got involved, the Zazzle store exploded. So I used to have everything that was in the Zazzle store or close to it. Now I don't have everything that's in the Zazzle store because this is so much. But I want to have everything that's in the Zazzle store. The last thing you made was my Monty Strong hat, right, with the red ampersand. Yeah, so there's another hat coming that the lead designer made after I made a request. And if you have a request, like if you want to see something in the Zazzle store that's not there, send Dolly a PM, and if she can do it, she'll let you know. If she can't, she'll say it's not possible. But you can make a request, and we'll see if it's a design that can actually be kind of implemented into the Zazzle store, which would be awesome, I think. Let's see. Does Bug get a VW Bug? No, she does not. VW Bugs. So here's the policy, which is why I had kind of like the poll in the room. There are some exceptions to this policy, but most of the vehicles in the Monty Strong world, most of them, not all, most of them are American muscle. Every so often you'll see Italian supercars like the Lamborghini, right? The Urus is a Lamborghini, and the Aventador that got destroyed by the troll. Those were Italian-made supercars, because I have a soft spot for Lamborghini. I love Lamborghinis because it's automotive art, right? But most of the vehicles that the characters drive, if not all, I don't think there's one that doesn't. Most of it. Oh yeah, the motorcycle that Coda drives now, right? That she calls Dead Sexy. That motorcycle is Italian, I believe. But it's like it's a super bike. It's not a regular bike. It's like this incredible, rare motorcycle to find. But most of the vehicles that all the characters drive, if not all of them, are American muscle, because I have a soft spot for American muscle. My first car was a '62 Camaro. And so ever since then, and that thing was a beast. That thing was the beast. Like the beast that Gray has, I actually owned that as my first car. And it was race equipped. So it had NOS. It was fat. It had big tires in the back. It was awesome. All right, let me get rid of this. Remove the Patreon thing, if it lets me. So, no Dodge Hornet for Bug. No. Bug is going to either have the Nova or the Chevy Chevelle. Both are pretty awesome cars. I'm leaning towards the Nova only because I like the body of the Nova. And so I think I'm leaning towards the Nova. I don't know. I'm gonna see which one. There's a few. I think there's a Nova SS, Jim, which is really powerful. And of course, it's gonna be Sunatra equipped, so it's gonna be even more powerful. No, not a super, not a Super B. I like the Super B actually, but no, it's not. It can't. It has to. See all the cards that I saw when we did the poll. For me, the cards that embody Bug the most, because the Nomad doesn't really actually do it, even though the Nomad's an amazing vehicle. The Nomad is nice, but the Nova kind of screams Bug, just like the Chevelle. They're both really close. So let's see. Yeah, the demonically ruined ice cream truck from Cthulhu Mythos would have been a bad fit, Anthony. Yes, a bad fit. Yes. Right, exactly, Paige. And that's why I like it's for that exact reason, because it seems the front of the Nova is kind of going at a 45-degree angle downwards, right? And that's really that skewedness, that kind of that it looks off, is it really kind of defines Bug because she's kind of off, you know? So that's why. So we'll see. The Chevelle has a beautiful body, but the front is kind of bland, whereas the Nova looks aggressive. If that's a way, I think that's the way I would have described the Nova. It's like an aggressive, like it wants to go forward. So yeah, the Nova, we'll see if it's the Nova. I'm leaning towards the Nova. I gotta look at the specs more. And also I'm gonna modify the specs, obviously, for the story. This is a lot of work for a Patreon story, by the way, because this is not gonna be a book or even a short story. It's gonna be a few chapters, maybe a chapter and a half, maybe. So yeah. So the Nova needs to go to someone twisted. Yeah, which is Bug. Bug, if you haven't read the stories of the gatekeepers, Bug is twisted. So we'll see. I think it fits her personality, I think. All right, so let me get to some of the updates before we move on, because I'm looking at the time and it's like flying. I don't understand what's going on. So we enter a time warp here. So Iker's third story, Nightwalker, so I already commissioned the cover to be done. It should be done in a few weeks. And I'm looking forward to that cover because the Iker covers are just so distinct and different and you know, new, you know? I am saying maybe. So the new Iker cover is coming in about 2 weeks, and the story should be done around the middle of August. I'm looking, I have a big calendar on the wall. So the middle of August is when the new Iker story should be. So that's coming in August, and that's gonna be fun. It's gonna wrap up that trilogy. And so usually with a character like Iker, which wasn't supposed to have a whole thing for himself, but with a character like Iker, I can see him having his own story. We'll see, given some time. There's a lot of stuff in the production schedule, so we'll see. But the trilogy, the Nightwalker will wrap up the trilogy, and then he'll kind of he won't fade completely into the shadows, but he's gonna have little cameos here and there. And so the last story will be in August, and then I go take a step back, and so I'll wrap up that story, leaving it kind of open to see him in other Mountain Strong stories or Gray stories or any other stories that are out there. Like I can definitely see him in the Treadwell Supernatural Directive stories, because that's more like his world, because he's an assassin, and Sebastian and the stray dogs kind of live in that world. So I can definitely see Iker making more of an appearance in that world or in those stories. Even though it's the same M&S World, that's the dark side of the M&S World. Klatsch time, like normal time, but caffeinated. Yes, basically the same thing, requiring a lot of caffeine for that. Mark wants some Iker swag. I don't know if we have any Iker. I don't think we have Iker swag, do we? So the lead designer, Dolly, will make a note to see if we can create some Iker swag. And when I say we, I mean her. That would be cool. I think Iker swag would do really well. Okay, so Iker is at the end of August. The Stray Dogs, which is the first book so it's a trilogy. I'm going to say that with caveats, okay? It's a trilogy so far, all right? The Stray Dogs, which is the Treadwell Supernatural Directive, book 1 is coming in September. And I'm hoping the beginning of September. But I'm pushing it to see if I can get it done in August, I want to say. Maybe the end of August. But yeah, so that one's coming out September, The Stray Dogs. So that'll be a lot of fun. I think you like the story. I'm having a lot of fun writing it because it's a whole different group. And even though Sebastian is related to Monty, he is nothing like Monty, right? I mean, he has traits because they're both from kind of the same family, but Sebastian has to deal with a lot of different things, and he's had to deal with a group of people, not just because Monty's kind of been on his own. Sebastian has an established group. Good morning, Facebook user. Who's that Facebook user? Good morning, Kitty. Okay, so then Test Drive comes out at the end of August because it's the next Patreon story. And Entropy. Ooh, Entropy is good. It's so much fun. Let's see. Anthony, that's funny. Yes, you're off. It's not leading to Mage War 2, the Majoning. And I would never name something the Majoning. But let's see. All the stuff in M&S is headed somewhere. So yeah, it is headed somewhere. It's just going to take a lot of books to get there. Think like Avengers, Infinity War, Endgame, that kind of thing. It's leading somewhere, but it's taking a long time to get there. Okay, so Entropy, I can't tell you anything about it because it's the next Monty and Strong book, obviously. But I'm having a lot of fun with it. And yeah, I can't tell you much, but just know that, and Chi is back in the story. So you get to see her, yay! For all the Chi fans and for all the Chi haters, she's back. Ooh, boo, yay, boo. All right. Janessa, each time you make a comment like trilogy, I keep wanting to speed up the cloning techniques. Right, so the Treadwell stories are going to be a lot of fun. And I want to say, okay, I'm going to preface this with possibly. I want to say a trilogy, but the Treadwell stories have enough things happening in the darkest side of things of the world that it could be a long series. I'm just going to say that now. But starting with a trilogy, okay? Okay. So each time, okay, Entropy, the more you put something together, the more it falls apart. Yes. Oh, the whole preface, or the whole premise of Entropy is that Keeper Galt, I think I can say this, Keeper Galt wants to see the world burn. That's basically it. And Monty and Simon and Peaches and all of the people who they know are standing in the way of that. And I don't think I can say much more than that without giving big chunks of the story away. So no. But yeah, Keeper Galt wants power and wants to undo pretty much everything, which is why it's called Entropy. But there are powers behind the Keeper that are pushing him in that direction. And I don't think I can say anything else without spoiling it. Okay, so let's move on. Our next audiobook, which is Revenant. So our audiobooks are lagging behind our books, our ebooks, our stories. One, because of the scheduling conflicts that exist. Two, because ACX takes a long time to approve stuff. So there's a natural lag. So book 16, Revenant, it's the next audiobook, should be out in October, which is awesome. Now we're going to do a few things with the audiobooks. I think we're going in the direction of where we're going to try Find a Way Voices, which is they can produce the book faster for us and get it out faster than ACX. And then Dottie, who's in charge of the whole audio division, is going to be implementing some new systems to get it out to the listeners, readers faster and in a more convenient way. So she's going to be using stuff like the website that we revamped, and you'll be able to get the book directly from the website. So stay tuned we're doing a lot of changes when it comes to how to produce the books and how to get them out to you in a timely manner, faster, and something that's more convenient. And yeah, and on the website, it'll be less expensive. So I know if you get your books through Audible or ACX, they set the price. We don't set the price. We're going to set the price cheaper or less expensive on the website, so you guys can get the book and get it. It's more cost effective for you as well. Yeah, this is just for audio, not the ebooks. For the ebooks, we have a different strategy that we're thinking of implementing, but I won't get into too much detail right now. just know that we're gonna start doing. We're not leaving KU, so just understand we're not leaving KU. We're going to be releasing the ebooks on the websites first for those who like to get the books early, and then I think it's only going to be a week early. So it's not like it's going to be a month in advance. And then it goes straight into KU for everyone else. And the MoB, as always, gets the special MoB price, which I'm not going to say here because you guys know what the MoB price is anyway. But in terms of audio, selling direct, like Chris is saying, selling direct to audio is going to be the way to go. And yes, Jeanette, the SAG-AFTRA strike, and we need to look into that with Kevin, because SAG-AFTRA might be impacting narrators as well because they're actors. So, yeah, so I think it's okay with Kevin to do our books. We've been in touch with him, but I think they're having trouble too finding work. So this will help us, this will help us and it'll help him, so which is good. And as long as he's not violating anything with the union, we're okay. Because we support writers and we support the actors. Each time, let's see. Like I said, Claude Orlando and or time, so we can have enough to get all the stories. Yeah, well, it's going to be a little tough. We haven't gotten to that technology yet. Welcome, Marie. You're not late. You're here, and you're here on time. That's what matters. Yes, Jeanette, and that's what our audio department lead is looking into. She's the audio department lead is the same thing as our lead, the same person as our lead designer. So she's looking into using BookFunnel for Audible books, and I think it's a good method. So she's doing her due diligence. Working with folks at Sound Booth Theater. Oh no, I think it would be amazing, but since we have done all the books with Kevin, Anthony, from book 1 to present, I don't see being able to go to Sound Booth Theater with M&S. Now, if we wanted to do, let's say, Treadwell, which has a cast of characters, right? Then I can see that, but not with M&S. Who's that? Who's currently getting the audience from ACX also? One of the most recent posts. This one.
That would be me.
Oh, that Facebook user. Yes, so we're stepping away from the exclusivity of ACX, and then we're going to start putting it up on our website to give greater access to the audiobooks. For the ebooks, they'll still be on KU because I want the books on KU to make it accessible to everyone. All right, so yes, if we could do it like a radio play, like the old time radio plays, that would be awesome, because that sounds, and with the effects and everything, wow. But I can only imagine the cost of something like that, because even though it's not like on film or whatever, it's still, you got to hire the actors and you have to hire the Foley artist. The Foley artist is the guy who makes all the sound effects, like the step. And I don't know how he's going to create like the sound of magic happening, but they figure out a way how to do that, right? Because they do it for the movies. So Foley artists, I don't know where we would even find one. And to create a radio play, I think I wouldn't do a whole book. I think I would do like a chapter or like a scene and something like that, just to see what it's like. Yeah. Oh, okay, so yeah, we can reach out to RL King. I know RL King, so reach out to RL. She's doing audiobooks through BookFunnel. So you can ask her. She's a great person, she's a good writer. Right, but you're talking a property like Lord of the Rings. Is that you again?
Yes.
So property like Lord of the Ring has a huge budget behind it, right? So yes, they can do that kind of thing. Which, I mean, and it makes sense because it's Tolkien and Lord of the Ring. So I'm very excited to watch Good Omens today. Good Omens 2 is going to be awesome. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Whoosh, like in comic books. Right. A graphic novel, a Mountain Strong graphic novel, I think is coming down the pike somewhere. It's something that I've been wanting to do because I collected comics when I was much younger, obviously. And it's huge. So I'm trying to find a way to do it which would do it justice. It's got to be on the level of something Marvel would create or DC, like an actual graphic novel, but independent. And I know we can do it. I just got to make sure that we have the resources for it, right? Oh, scene on Zoom. That would be funny. I mean, Anthony, I think that would be like kind of like independent theater. That would be hilarious. I know I would enjoy that. So that would be great. I want to see who's going to play Peaches. That would be funny. Every time I hear Kevin do Peaches, it's like incredible because Peaches comes to mind when Kevin does Peaches. His voice is incredible. So I love to see a mob scene doing M&S. Also, so you got it earlier because you're ahead of us. Yes. So I'm going to be watching some Good Omens. Maybe the youngest Valkyrie want to watch it. I know she loves Good Omens, the first one. So Good Omens 2 should be a lot of fun. And of course, it's David Tennant and Michael Sheen. I mean, and Ham and a lot of people from the first season. So it's going to be fantastic. I think. Plus, Neil Gaiman and Sir Terry Pratchett had already discussed what the second book would be. So this is not Neil Gaiman going off on his own to kind of explore. He had done an interview a while back, I think around the time Good Omens was coming out, about what Good Omens 2 would be. And they had already hashed out the book because, it makes sense when they wrote Good Omens that they would think about Good Omens 2. So they had already created the book or the ideas of the book. So it's a natural thing to just transpose it for film, or change it for film. So I'm really happy that he had that conversation with Sir Terry. Now, Good Omens 3, if there is a Good Omens 3, would be, I think, all Neil Gaiman, which is not a bad thing because I saw The Sandman and I read a few of The Sandman, and he does great work. So, all right, Chris, you be safe. Going out there, stay cool because it's really hot still, and have a good trip at the docks. We'll keep you posted and you just do what you gotta do. You can keep listening. So if there's a Good Omens 3, which I don't think, there's no reason for there not to be, from what I hear about Good Omens 2, it's so good. I can see Good Omens 3 being all Neil Gaiman, but still staying true to the world of Aziraphale and Crowley. Let's see, the new season of Harley Quinn also stealth drop on Max, right? I haven't seen any of the Harley Quinn. I haven't heard anything about it, but and I don't have Max, so because I don't really subscribe to like those other streaming channels. I don't really have that much time to be watching. So Netflix and Amazon is kind of my mainstay of things. If it's on those two, I can watch it, But other than that, it's a little hard. We had Disney, and we kind of even with Disney. The things that Disney's been doing lately too, I've been, like with the writing, I've been like, oh, what's going on? So we're put it this way, we're not missing Disney at the moment. So what else do we have besides Disney, Amazon, and Netflix? We didn't have Hulu. Yeah, every so often we'd get Paramount because it would have one thing that we want to watch, right? That's about it. So we don't really kind of do many streaming services. We do Netflix, Amazon. We had Disney. I do a lot of Crunchyroll because Crunchyroll has all my anime. So that's a whole different story. The anime is a necessity. So, but yeah. So, but let me know how Harley Quinn is, Anthony, if you watch it, and maybe we can pick it up somewhere else. It would be interesting to see how they treat the character. It's always interesting to me how anti-heroes or villains are treated in the stories when they're changed from one medium to the next, and how a new writer will interpret the villain or the anti-hero. It's always interesting to see how that's done, And I like anti-heroes. I mean, so what are some of your favorite anti-heroes? I think, even better, what do you consider to be an anti-hero? Because we all have different definitions of anti-hero, right? So what would you consider to be an anti-hero that should be explored further? Like, for me, Daredevil was a great anti-hero because, and even better than Daredevil, I mean, although Daredevil was great, the Punisher in the Daredevil series was done really well with John Bernthal. He was really good. And I think they did a series of just the Punisher, which was excellent. Deadpool's another great anti-hero. I think he moves so well in the Marvel universe as the foil and he bucks all the trends, right? And then the good thing about Deadpool, or what I like about Deadpool, that I haven't been able to do in a story yet, is that he breaks the fourth wall on a regular basis. And I think that's a lot of fun. And I haven't read a book yet, aside from Sir Terry's footnotes, which are kind of like breaking the fourth wall when you think about it, right? Because he's talking directly to us. But I haven't read an author who does that well, breaking the fourth wall, because it's hard to pull off, right? But in the films and in the comics, Deadpool is very much breaking the fourth wall and talking directly to the readers or to the viewers, which is done so well in the movies. Kurt Avon from Blake 7 was my first real Black Cat. Yeah, okay, I can see that. I'm not that familiar with Kurt Avon, but I am familiar with Blake 7. I just haven't really dove, much very deep into that. So, but there are plenty of anti-heroes that are out there that deserve to have their time. I guess they deserve to get pulled out of the shadows and pulled into the light just a little bit. Who's this? Not anime, not animal. Yeah, I kind of got that it was animals, but anime. Yeah. Let's see. Yes, as an OG, I didn't think you were an OG animal watcher. So, anime. How do you define anime for those who don't follow it too much and who aren't really big watchers of it? Anime basically is comic books brought to action, because most anime start as manga, and manga are just basically Japanese comic books, right? So the manga is then taken by a studio and just brought to motion. So it's like taking a book and making it a film, but with manga, the manga is in comic form, like a comic book form. So it's basically taking the manga and adding motion to it and polishing it up and making it look amazing, right? But that's basically what manga is. Manga is basically static anime, and anime is basically moving manga. So that's the way most anime fans view it. But there's so much anime, and there's so much old anime that I grew up with. It's different from those of us who grew up with the Looney Tunes. That's not anime, right? But those of us who grew up with like Dragon Ball Z and those kind of old time and Macross and those kind of old animations, we evolved from that right into anime. It was a seamless transition, Yeah, anime is as broad as fantasy. It's really a Sailor Moon, Battle of the Planets. What was that anime that had that big submarine-like spaceship? Was that Battle of the Planets? It's amazing anime. Good morning, Darren. Welcome. See, will anyone be interested in anime about rural Alabama ninjas growing manga style with a female lead named Anime? Maybe. I don't think so, Anthony. But hey, you know what? You never know. Star Blazers. Yes, Star Blazers was amazing. Voltron, also amazing. Vampire Hunter D. I really enjoyed Vampire Hunter D. Robot Circus, I don't know if I watched that one. I don't recall that. But Star Blazers is the one I remember that had the big submarine, like huge ship, which was awesome. And that was the Yamato. Yes, the Yamato. So watching that growing up, and we're talking about going way back with these animes. It was an easy transition to go from those to Demon Slayer or whatever I'm watching now, Gunslinger Girl, all these things, Witch Hunter Robin, all these other different animes that I've watched, and I've watched quite a few, because it was an easy bridge for us, for those of us who grew up with Voltron and all these other and Star Blazers and all of this, and Macross, G-Force. G-Force was excellent, Battle of the Planets, G-Force. So, and I know right now a lot of people's eyes are just glazing over, like, I don't know what they're talking about. But just understand that all this stuff that I watched and all the stuff that you see people saying is the kind of the stuff that gets filtered in to an author and then gets used later on. So, most authors that I know, they're not like huge anime fans, but they have different facets to them that as they were growing up were formative. And so as an author or as a creative, right? Like, let's say you're a sculptor or you're an artist, you would study Picasso, but you wouldn't just study Picasso, you would study Renoir, you would study, Rembrandt, you would study all different kinds of artists. And out of that, you would distill your own style. But your own style is formed up of all these other different artists that influence you. And that's why you see in the beginning of many artists' lives, that they have definite what you call definite influences. You'll see that they're very close to a particular artist because that's the way we creators are. That's the way we are as creators, right? We'll see a lot of stuff. We'll be very broad, and then it starts to influence us. And as we start to find our own voices, it resembles a lot of other things, and then eventually you come down to and you get your voice. But that's the same thing with art, and it's the same thing with writing. In writing, it's you read broadly, you watch stories, you just assimilate all this stuff, and then eventually you say, okay, I want to start writing something. But when you end up writing initially, it's gonna sound like someone else. It's just the way it is. And yeah, we're a product of what we grew up watching, reading, experiencing. Like I have a lot of stuff in my head when I'm writing that just bubbles to the surface, and hey, this is perfect for right here. Now, there's no way I can predict that. Like, this happened recently in a story. Where was it? Trying to think. I don't know if it was Entropy or if it was the Stray Dogs. Yeah, Char. So Char, Char, is a dragon that's in the Stray Dogs, and she just appeared. She just came up, and she runs a club called the Dungeon. Can't tell you much more because it's spoilers. But a character like that comes up, and it's just like, I'm not really anticipating creating that character. It's just what I do is I ask my brain, okay, I need a place, and I need someone to run that place, and then it's like you're putting in this request to this huge database, and the larger your database, the more you have to pick from, right? So it was like, okay. You need a place. We'll call it the Dungeon. That just came to me, right? Oh, okay, we'll call it the Dungeon. Now, who's gonna run the Dungeon? Can't be like the Hellfire Club because it's not S&M mainstream thing, right? It has to be a kind of like low-key criminal kind of place where people can go and no questions are asked. So we're thinking somewhat Casablanca, someone like Rick, who doesn't stick their neck out for anybody, but who's really powerful and can deal with all these criminal elements without it being an issue. A dragon would be perfect for that. So let's have a dragon there. Fine. And who is this drag? Char. Let's call it Char. Fine. Okay. But it's not Charizard. That is a Pokemon. The name is Char after the word char, which means to burn and things like that, right? So that makes a lot of sense. And so these weird connections are all created pretty fast. And it comes from having this huge well of anime and movies and TV and books that you've read. All this stuff is in that well, and it just kind of gets filtered, and then you start going like, okay, pick this, and that makes a character. There you go, boom. Because I never really watched Pokemon, and I never followed Pokemon, so I know the name because I remember it being when it was a big thing, but I never followed Pokemon. It never called to me having a character that just said their name all the time. So, okay. Let's see. What happened in the translation from Japanese to American? I do not understand the question. But okay, maybe you can. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Well, I can see that. Yeah. In the dub, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Who's got to go?
Kitty.
Bye, Kitty. Take care. Thank you so much for dropping in. It's always awesome when people can drop in, even if for a little bit. So I wanted to touch upon the new story for Patreon just a little bit more, although not as much as I did last mob. I was informed that I might have gone a little overboard on the Patreon, only because a lot of people are asking for Bug and Porter, and I got a post earlier today about I need to write more Bug and Porter stories, and I definitely realized that there's a Bug coalition out there headed by someone really close. This story I think is going to be a lot of fun, only because it's Bug centered, and I don't know. There's something interesting about Bug as a character, so I kind of have to bring her. I have to see if we can make a crossover with Bug. Initially, it was going to be Bug, Byakko, and Nixia, but that's just too much crossover. So I settled on Bug, So we'll see. So listen, you guys, if you want to read this story, this is the regular plug. If you want to read this story, you've got to go to Patreon and sign up. And I just recently went to the page. Not that I don't go to my own page, and it's really cool. It's a really great page. That was also created by the lead designer and the audio lead also. So yes, like with Sailor Moon being changed so that generals were all male, because yeah, there's a lot of changes there are a lot of things that are acceptable in Japan that aren't acceptable in the West. So they make these changes to kind of cater to the audiences. That's just normal. Bye, Connie. Be safe. Have a great weekend. What is Anthony saying? Some of the best advice I've ever gotten came from this group. We may have ideas in common with other source material, but how we treat them and how we develop the story is unique to each of us. Yes, it really freed me up. Much thanks to Chris Christopher. I totally agree. I was having this conversation with Dolly the other day, and it's like, basically, you're not going to write anything new in the world at all. The only thing that you bring to whatever creative endeavor is your particular experience. You're not going to create a new story that hasn't been done in some way or another, right? But what you're going to bring that's unique is your perspective on the story. So there have been hellhounds before. There have been immortal detectives. There have been mages. I just happen to combine them in my own formula kind of way, and it becomes Monty and Strong. And that's what makes it unique, what I bring to it. Bye-bye, Connie. Have a great weekend. So when I speak to writers who and a lot of new writers have this fear of what, I'm going to write something, but it's going to be a copy of something else, right? Well, in a way, yes, but in a real way, no, because no one else is you. Only you can write your stories. And so, and I always tell writers, there are people out there that need to hear your stories. I have so many emails from people telling me that the stories impacted them, changed their life, or was made a difficult moment tolerable and made them laugh or made them smile or made them be able to relate to a certain thing while they were going through a rough time. And so those readers need your stories. So if you're a writer and you're thinking about writing, write the story already. Don't stop, delaying. Just get the story out into the world, because there are people out there in the world that need to hear or need to read your story. So just get it done, get it written, and I know there's fear involved. There's always fear. For the longest time, I had both the fears. And I heard this great talk the other day that the only fears that we are born with are the fear of falling and the fear of loud sounds. Every other fear is a learned fear. So the fear of falling, as a baby, babies don't like to fall. And the fear of loud sounds will startle a baby, right? Those are fears that we're born with. Every other fear after that is a fear that we learn. So I used to have the fear of the fear of failure, which is like, what if I write this and it sucks and nobody likes it? Guess what? That's gonna happen. Your first books you write are gonna suck. It's life. That's it. Just deal with that and move on. Get those books out. And then there was the fear of success. What if I write in there, it takes off, but then I can't match it again? Then I can't write again forever. No, just get over it. You have to kind of get over yourself in a way, right? So those fears are present and they don't go away. What you learn to do is manage them. Every book that you write, you're gonna be dealing with, what if no one reads it? Or what if no one likes it? Or what if it's such a runaway hit that you can't copy it? Oh boy, now what? I'm stuck. Like if you ever saw an interview with Hugh Howey, after he wrote Wool, he had that fear of like, this book took off and it became this huge thing, and he was stuck. He couldn't write for a while because of the fear of success. Wendy, good morning. You made it. You're late, according to you, but you're here, and that's what matters. So as a writer, as an author, as a creator, you have to be able to overcome these fears. You have to be able to deal with them, because it's just the way it is. Anytime you put yourself out there, let me tell you now, there are going to be people who don't like what you do. That is part of the package. That's part of what it means to do anything creative where you put yourself out in the world. You can't write for everyone. You can't create for everyone. It's just going to happen. So just do it. because to regret not doing it is much worse than taking a chance doing it and having some people say, "Oh, that's horrible." So what? And then, okay, go find the most popular books ever written and go read those reviews, and you will find people who say, "This sucks. This is horrible." Didn't they do that with Jane Austen?
Yes.
They tried to. Also, they took the manuscript. Yeah, and she died destitute. One. But they did a recent thing with Pride and Prejudice. They released it again, right, as a manuscript to agents. Yeah, it was like a few years ago, like maybe like 10 years ago. They tried to release it again under a different author, so they pretended it was a new book, and it got rejected. Pride and Prejudice. So don't worry about what is it? Yeah, but that's just it. This is a classic book, and it's still Rowling got rejected like 12 times before she got accepted, and it's things like that. So you have your own journey to walk. Start walking it. Get it done. The longer you wait to do what you want to do, that creative expression, the longer it's going to take before it gets out into the world because of the steps, right? In writing, you got to write, you got to outline, you got to write. I mean, this is my process, right? Outline, write, art, dolly, editor, more editing, all of that takes months. So if I delay it, it gets delayed by months. Just get it done. Write it. As Jeanette's saying, hashtag just write. We need a t-shirt with that on. Like, just do it, just write. Darren's saying, I started my publishing series on Vella, and every time I write an episode, I think of what you talked about last week. You're very welcome. I don't know what I said, but if it's helping you, awesome. And Jeanette, I still get warm fuzzies about the hour. Yes. I was just discussing the hour the other time, right? We need to bring back the red shirt competition. So we have, just make a note. We need to bring back the red shirt competition. I like the red shirt competitions. It's awesome. Who wrote Keep Antiperspirant? Was that you? Yes. You just gotta get some strong antiperspirant for the sweating, and you keep going. I agree, Anthony. And when I first started, like let's say when I first started with Mountain Strong, because it was a divergence from Sepia Blue. That's when I read the reviews for like Dresden and things like that, because I was thinking on writing something similar. And Jim Butcher was getting crucified in the reviews, but you can't let that bother you. You just gotta write your story, So the first draft is for yourself, and the second edited version is for everybody else. Write your story. One of the reasons why I write what I write is because I want to read the stories that I've written. And Dolly knows this. I'll write something, and then I'll go back and read it later on, and I'll be like, wow, this is really good. And it's like, you wrote it? But it's because I enjoyed it, And so I enjoy reading the writing that I create. And, sometimes you're writing in a fugue state, so you're not really aware of what you're writing, and sometimes you're very aware. But the bottom line is that you have to enjoy it. As a writer, if you don't enjoy what you're writing, I promise you that comes across in the writing. If you're just writing because you're dialing it in and you're not really happy about it, it comes across in your writing. It really does. So if you write something you enjoy writing, create something you enjoy creating, and you'll be like, people will resonate with what you're creating as a creator. So just enjoy it. I enjoy the heck out of all the books that I've written and the books that I'm going to write, and I think about the stories, and I go, yeah, and I get excited, and I want to do them, But we do, as Jenna said, we do need more red shirts. Yeah. Keep episodes more intense with a full arc. Yes, that's very important, Darren, because that keeps your readers hooked, and you want your readers hooked, especially if you're going to do a format like Vella, because Vella is like episodic TV. So if you don't keep your readers hooked, I have a note on my huge corkboard that says, never be boring, never be boring. You don't want to be boring ever. So the fugue state, I haven't got too much into that because for a lot of people, it's a lot of woo-woo, right? The fugue state's important. We know it more as getting into the flow, right? But the fugue state's important because there are times when ideas will come to you that you should accept, get them down, and move on. And then later on, you can reevaluate them. But some of the best ideas I've had have come in the midst of that fugue state. Now, where the ideas come from, don't know. But it's important to let yourself get into the flow when you're creating. If it wasn't for Stephen King's wife rescuing one of his stories from the garbage, he was have been a second grade teacher somewhere or working at a laundry. Yes, because that's what he was doing. He was teaching and working at a laundry. He wrote Carrie. He let Tabitha see it, his wife. And first he had thrown it in the trash, right? And she picked it up out of the trash, smoothed it out, and read it. And she said, "You need to finish this. This is good." And then he finished it, and it was good. And Carrie was his first book that got published, and then the rest is kind of history, right? So it's important to have people around you that support you, people around you that kind of, they may not see the vision exactly as you see it, but they believe in you enough to back your vision, and that's important. Now I'm going to go to questions because we have questions. So, and it's 12:25, and I don't know where the time went. So, what? No, get out of here, no.
It was the answer planned.
You still gotta say it. No cop-outs, no cop-outs. All right, I can't see you guys. I can't see the comments, but Dolly can see the comments. All right, here we go. Question number 1 from Chris Chrisman. And first, let me preface it by saying thank you so much for the questions. You guys are awesome. All right, question number 1. At what point / book did Peaches become real to you? And don't hurt the dog. I would say Peaches became real to me right from the beginning because he appears in T&B, Two Yards and Butterflies. Right from the beginning, Peaches was real, which is why by book 3, okay, so he became real in book 1. In book 3, he became even more real when I had written his death and almost visited mine from what the readers threatened me with when I said the dog was gonna die. And they were like, yeah, I don't think so. And that's the first time I realized that characters take on a life of their own in a way, and especially readers get attached to your characters. And if you mistreat the character, readers take it personally. And not just the dog. Like I've had certain readers tell me Simon would never say that, or Simon would never do that. Or sometimes I just want to smack Simon upside the head. How can he be so dense? And my initial reaction is, this is a fictional character, hello? But then I realized, as a reader myself, and I've gone through it with, characters and authors, you get attached to the characters and they resonate with you, and then you do really want to smack them upside the head. Like, why are you doing that? What? And with a character like Peaches, it's like, yeah, you better make them indestructible because nothing could happen to Peaches, okay? All right, good. Are we good? We're good. Okay. So I get it. And so Peaches really became real to me by book 3 when I tried to kill him, and I was warned about the bodily harm that would be visited upon me if I did that. That's when Peaches really was solidified as real. All right, number 2. Is Monty's ego based on the same type as Sherlock Holmes' ego? Superior because he is? Well, Sherlock Holmes is a functioning sociopath. So Monty is not a functioning sociopath. He does have an air of superiority, but most mages do. And so he's not exactly like Sherlock. And Sherlock is socially stunted in many ways, whereas Monty isn't. Monty is just antisocial in many ways. So he's not superior just because he is. He's superior because he studied very hard to become so. And Sherlock is basically, that's just the way he is. He has this keen way of being, and he's extremely observant, obviously. So very different characters. Sherlock is very unique in that he lords his intelligence over those around him because his brain moves at the speed of light while everyone is stumbling along in the dark. But he has no problem letting people know that they're not intelligent. Like if you ever see Sherlock speak to Lestrade, or even Watson sometimes, he kind of rubs it in that he's like so much better than they are, Monty doesn't do that. He doesn't need to do that. He kind of jabs Simon a little bit, but he never lords over that he's so superior. He'll pick those battles in different things, like Star Trek over Star Wars, or English over American, things like that. But never directed at one person, because that's not who Monty is, Because he wouldn't do it with Simon in a mean way. He would do it with Simon because they have that brotherly bond, right? But not in a mean way as tearing Simon down. different. Okay, great questions, Chris. Thank you. Audrey asked, I don't know if Audrey's here, but for those of you that are watching this later, let me just insert this now. Thank you so much for watching. I know sometimes life gets in the way and you can't watch it when we're live. So thank you if you're here with us up until this point, because this is almost near the end of the show. Thank you for watching this far and joining us on episode 99 of the MoB TV Kaffeeklatsch. Okay, that was our little commercial. You like that? Okay, Audrey's question is, if you could be someone else for 24 hours, who would you be and what would you do? Wow. This is why I don't read these questions beforehand, because you get a nice. I don't know who I would be. I like being me. If I didn't like being me, it'd be a different issue. But I like being me, so I don't know if I want to be anyone else for 24 hours. I don't know. If we can get into fictional worlds, maybe, but not in real world. I like being me. All 24 of the hours. I like being me. All right, here we go. Dolly's question. What is one piece of advice that you would give to a spouse/significant other of a writer who is just starting out? Go.
Believe in them, back them up, and support them. And feed them.
Feeding them helps. So in case you didn't hear it, because my voice sometimes isn't loud enough, believe in them, back them up, support them, and feed them. That's really the feeding. For me, the feeding them is really important. But the other ones are important too. Just to give you some context for that, when I first started writing seriously, like really getting into it, I wouldn't write at home. I would go to Starbucks, which is about 10 blocks away, 79th Street, 10 blocks away. And I would write there, and I would stay there for hours, like hours. I would stay there until Starbucks closed. And that Starbucks at that time closed until about 11. And then I'd walk home. So during that time, Dolly was home with the kids and doing stuff and working and I was over there writing. So she was able to be okay with me stepping away for a few hours and writing and then coming back. So that's part of the support and the feeding. And the feeding is really important for me. And supporting, because I always give this story. The first year of me writing, I made $56.81 for the first year. So let's say you've got a spouse who says, I'm gonna start writing, right? And the first year you produce $56.81. The initial reflex is you may want to start something else, because this isn't gonna be too viable for us to live on, or pay any bills. So that support of being able to see ahead without seeing any results in the immediate present, but looking ahead to the future is important, because you feel believed in, and that helps you strive to more. And so that's important. That support is really important. That you can do it without the support, but I think you get further with the support. And if you look at most really well-known writers, there's someone behind them supporting them, or someone beside them that's supporting them. Okay, great answer, Dolly. Thank you. Okay, do you start, Orlando, next question from Audrey. We'll get to all the questions, I promise. Do you start out a book series with an outline? What is your first step when starting a new book series? I usually start out a book or series with a character, not an outline. And so I'll give you a recent example, like the Treadwell Supernatural director. That was a character I wanted to introduce into Mountain Strong, which I did. They're in Lost Ruins, if I'm not mistaken, right? Lost Ruins? Treadwell? Sebastian? I believe they're in Lost Ruins, or maybe Archmage. I think Archmage, yeah, they're recent. So I started with the character. I wanted to introduce a new character into the M&S World. And usually what happens is one or two things. It's they have such a rich backstory that they can have their own story and their own kind of offshoot, or they don't. It's one or the other. And so with Sebastian and his group, with the TSD, with the Stray Dogs, I was able to expand on that and create a big group. And so that created, so when I get that idea, that initial seed, then I started creating a world around that character, and then that character starts having issues to deal with, and that becomes a series. So it's basically character, because character is what drives my stories, right? Not the plot. It's the character. What are the characters doing? So character, outline, and then the story. So it's kind of like all mashed together, but first the character, definitely. Okay, next question. Those are great questions, Audrey. Thank you. Next question, Chris Mendoza says, I love writing dialogue, but how do you avoid repeating he said, she said, without the reader losing track of who's talking? This is something that comes with time. You know, as you practice your writing more and more, you start developing this skill because it is a skill. But the great thing about he said, she said is that he said, the word said is invisible after a while. Most readers don't even pick up on it. You know, it's there, it's important. But I'll tell you what the strategy I learned and what I use is that and this takes time, so I mean, it's not a quick fix, sorry. But each character has to have a distinct voice. So you want to write an exercise, you want to do an exercise where you write, this is what I did many times. You write a paragraph or a scene without attributions, without said. And there's a huge shout out here to Laura Lee, my first serious editor, who said you need to stop using attributions for a while. Practice stop using attributions. What that forces you to do is writing your characters in such a way that you don't need Monty said or Simon said to know who's speaking. So you have to write so clearly in each character's voice that you know as a reader who's speaking without having to be told Monty said this or Simon said this. And practice that and practice it and practice it and practice it. And after a while, the he said, she said becomes not as necessary in the dialogue. And if you read the dialogue that I write, so I can only talk to my experience. But if you read the dialogue that I write, I don't use he said, she said all the time. Only if the passage of dialogue is really long, I'll throw in a he said, she said. But you should be able to tell who's speaking from the way that it's written, from the way the words that are used. So Monty speaks in a very elevated way. Simon speaks in a more, I won't say guttural, but more common way, right? But Simon's highly intelligent. He just chooses to speak in the way he speaks because he's Simon. But he understands what Monty is saying. The same way Monty understands what Simon's saying, but chooses to speak in a more elevated manner. So you have to make it so distinct that your readers can tell who's speaking without having to see an attribution. So I would practice writing passages without using attributions and see if you can tell who's speaking when. And that'll get you away from having to use he said, she said all the time. You can do other things like he answered, she replied. There's other attributions that you can use, but he said and she said is more common because it's invisible. And so it makes the writing flow smoothly. Whereas if you say he exclaimed and you start doing like that, it kind of it stutters the writing a little bit. There's places for it, like when he said seething and things like that. But he said, she said is usually the easiest and the smoothest for the writing. Darren says, we'd love to hear your thoughts on some of the best ways to create tension in a chapter or even a single scene. The best way is to, so who was it that said this? I think it was Hemingway. Someone really famous said, when you stop your writing for the day, leave it mid-sentence. So I'm not suggesting you leave your chapters mid-sentence, but every chapter is a cliffhanger or should be a cliffhanger because you want your reader to continue to read. So in order for that to happen, you have to leave the chapter as a cliffhanger so that person goes, okay, I want to know what happened next. And so you need to create that tension. And so creating tension, I can't tell you how to create tension because you have to do it in the sphere of your story, right? But what I can tell you is in order to create that desire within your reader to continue reading, you have to leave every chapter as a cliffhanger. Now, don't do this with the books itself. But if you're writing episodic stories, leaving them as cliffhangers is okay. If you're writing a book, the chapters should be cliffhangers. And I'll tell you why. If you're reading a book and it's late at night, this is why a lot of my readers say, oh, because of you, I didn't get any sleep. Oh, I'm tired because of you. And I read that book and then I had to keep reading, and I didn't get any sleep. And the next thing I knew it was the morning. That's good. As a reader, as a writer, you want to hear that. I mean, yes, I'm sorry, not sorry, but you want to hear that because it means you did something right. You want the ends of your chapters to be cliffhangers because that makes the reader want to go to the next chapter and stay in the story. And yes, sleep isn't that necessary. I can always sleep tomorrow. You keep reading. And as Mickey Spillane says, and I really, really adhere to the Mickey Spillane school of book marketing and writing, the first chapter sells the book. The last chapter sells the next book, right? And the meaning behind that is that your first chapter gets people to read the book. So it has to grab people. And your last chapter has to make people say, okay, I want to read the next book this writer writes because this one was that good. I want to read the next one. And that's what you got to do. It's that simple and that hard. I don't think there are any more questions. Wow, and it's 12. Oh, geez, look at the time. All right, let me go back to. All right, what did I miss? Geez, I know I missed a lot. Okay. No questions. Tolkien told C.S. Lewis that The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was the worst thing he ever written. Well, it's possible, and yet it's one of the most beloved stories ever, Darren. So there you go. No, you know what? We are the worst judge. We have the worst judgment of our own work, and sometimes we don't know what's good and what's not good. I can tell you that for a fact. Stories that I was like, this isn't going to work, have taken off, and so. You can't judge your own work at all. You don't know what's going to resonate with other people. Just the only thing you can do as a writer is write it. Learn the fundamentals, exploit them. You know how they say, learn the rules so you can break the rules? Learn the rules so you can break the rules, and then write the story. Time flies. Time flies like, I don't understand how I blink, and it's like 12:40. John Wick wants to speak to you. Yeah, you know what? I got a lot of those, Jeanette, after Archmage. Like, John Wick wants to have a word with you. We need to talk. So I got a lot of those. Anthony, I agree. Mycroft, if we're going to compare Monty, Mycroft would be more like Monty because Mycroft, only with Sherlock does he kind of lord it over him. But Mycroft is working in the intelligence community. He's brilliant. He's even more brilliant than Sherlock, but he keeps it low key, right? And he's out there saving England, whereas Sherlock is solving cases. And that's why Mycroft kind of looks down at Sherlock. Oh, you solved a little case. That's great. I just saved all of England. Like things like that. But yes, if you're going to compare characters, Mycroft is closer to Monty than Sherlock is closer to Monty, for sure. I agree, Anthony. Let's see, we got more comments, and we almost have to leave. Jeez. Who's late as usual? Marsha Lynn? But you're here, and that's what's important, Marsha. Welcome. Let's see, I have more. Let's see, dialogue. You can break dialogue with action. Actually, as I've learned, dialogue is action. So it's just different kinds of action, Paige. And so you can intersperse dialogue with physical action, but dialogue in itself is action. And so if you think of dialogue as action, it should change your relationship to dialogue. Let's see. I think you're really good at making sure we know who's speaking without that. Yeah, I try to be. In the beginning, it was like Spiritual Warrior, poor Dolly. Spiritual Warrior, everybody was speaking. We didn't really know who was speaking at first, and I started learning that whole thing about each character has to have a distinct voice. You and me both, Jeanette. Many a book has been just one more chapter, and then I end up and it's dawn. Like, oh my God, I didn't sleep at all. I read this whole book. Jeez. Yeah, I know what that feels like firsthand. And I don't ever hold it against the author for doing that to me, because that's good writing. But yes, Jeanette, it's an exercise. It's an excellent exercise. Writing without an attribution to make it so that your reader is clear about who's speaking is a great exercise. So practice it often, because that way your writing there's a certain clarity to your writing. And if you left while I was reading questions, I wish you the best weekend. And now we have to go as well, because it's 12:45. Jeez. So if we're gonna make it 2 hours. So okay, our next MoB TV is the 11th of August. And we might have to move it because we might. I'll keep you posted about the next MoB TV. It might have to be the 18th of August, because it's episode 100. It's a special episode, and I have a prior event that I have to be at for the Warrior. So he's graduating from a program that he's in. So I'm gonna say August 18th is the next Mob TV. Okay, and we'll put that up so people, because it's 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks, and people are gonna expect 2 weeks. So, but because it's the 100th episode, we can do that. Snark Fu, exactly. So listen, have a great weekend. I want to thank you all for being here. It's awesome, you guys, when we do this. And Jeanette, you're up in the middle of the night for us, so it's awesome that you can be here. I want to thank you all who made the time to come here and be and hang out with us and have a little bit of coffee and have conversation and talk and learn a little. I mean, I learn every time we do the Mob. I learn, so that's fantastic. You guys are great, and can't do this without you. And definitely want ideas for episode 100, even though we're going to it's going to be Mob centered. So bring your memories, bring history, your thoughts on how the Mob has changed your life or how you've changed within the Mob. How has it impacted you? Things like that. And it'll be good because if we do it on the 18th, then you're going to give everyone enough time to kind of accumulate stuff that they may want to share. Bring stuff to share too. Like, I really liked it when this happened, or I was worried when this happened, or like Jeanette says, I still remember being the hour and things like that. It's important because it's part of who we are as a group, and it's part of who we are as people and as a family. So it's important. The Mob family is an important place to be and an important thing to have for all of us. So we didn't promote any authors, but you guys know my standing order is that we support our indie authors, right? So the usual suspects. Go out and get their books. I know a lot of them haven't released anything new because a lot of them in the summer don't release much in the summer, even though that's not me. I release constantly. But a lot of authors wait to release like in September and the fall. So support your indie authors. Really, it's important. You're not supporting a big business. You're supporting a person, paying rent or things like that, or getting a new pair of shoes, something. It's not as big as you think it is, and every little bit does matter to the author, to the indie author. What time does it start in the Pacific time? I don't know what you're asking. 8:30 a.m. Pacific. Yeah, 8:30 a.m. Pacific. Yeah. All right, guys. As always, so it's the 3 B's now. It's be kind, be uncommon. No, be kind, be unstoppable, and be uncommon. I want you guys to be all 3. All right. So be kind because it doesn't hurt to be kind. It's free and it's good karma for you, right? Be unstoppable. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do anything, because if you put your mind to it, you can get it done, right? And you can get help to help you get it done. And be uncommon because do not settle for being just like everyone else. You're unique. There's only one of you. So be uncommon. And have a great weekend, guys. Bye.